Hi guys, best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
The two championships in the Kamel series have gone completely opposite directions. While the prototypes have seen a runaway with Albrecht taking the lion's share of wins, in the GTO cars, only Joni Hagner has managed to win more than once. Much like those noticeable differences, today's track will accentuate the opposing qualities of these race cars. Suzuka might be a driver's circuit, but the driver must also adapt to the vehicle as we get ready to watch round 8 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, we're in the House of the Rising Sun this week, and no, I'm not talking about New Orleans. Tell us about Suzuka.
No problem, Joe. Suzuka Kokusaire Shingu Kosu was originally built as a test track for Honda Motors back in 1962, and it's one of the few racing circuits in the world that features a figure-8 design. Shortly before finishing the 5.8 kilometer or 3.6 mile 17-turn lap, the circuit doubles back over itself with a bridge crossing back over the track just past 130R. Suzuka is defined by its many difficult sweeping corners and its two very hard braking zones into the hairpin and Casio triangle chicane. These are the places where the Nissan will struggle the most, as the hot tires from the twisting turns and cold brakes will make decelerating and accelerating through those corners extremely difficult. The Audis will struggle in the opposite places, but especially the Degner and Spoon curves, as the track will want to spit them off onto the runoff here. As far as the multi-class goes, both classes have their work cut out for them. With a generally narrow track and a lot of places where the racing line crosses the track, everyone will have to be patient to avoid race-ending incidents through the first sector, Spoon and 130R especially. But enough talk. Let's take a ride around Suzuka International Racing Course in our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got hans-joachim in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Down the front stretch, you're going to be climbing to around 170 miles an hour, so the entry to turn 1 will require incredible precision. Slow it as it's turning and get it to bite through turn 2, which acts as a continuous corner. Switch sides quickly, and then you're chucked into the S's. The cornering speed of this machine means you'll be carrying quite a bit of momentum, but that doesn't mean you can get lax on the racing line. Keeping up your rhythm and setting up for each subsequent corner will be critical through here, or else you'll lose time hand over fist. Once you come off the final left-hander, you'll be flying through Dunlop, which is a frighteningly fast, flat-out sweeper. Hug the car off to the left and then spot your brake marker for Degner 1. You've got to be very aggressive on that inside curve, get it settled, and blow it up even more for Degner 2. As you fly under the bridge, the acceleration of this beast makes it a very short burst to the hairpin. That kinked entry will test the brave because you can get on the brakes very, very late. Try to square off the exit, but be careful about getting back onto the power. The turbo lag means you won't feel it until it hits the higher revs, and those low gear corners are gonna be touchy. You've got a little breather with turn 12, which is another gentle curve where you won't have to lift. However, make sure to keep the car off to the right to line up for Spoon. The first apex here has a quick entry with a little squirt in the middle of the turn. The second apex is much slower and much more important to nail. Coming off of here will require excellent throttle control to get the most out of the long backstretch. The sooner you're on the gas, the more straight line speed you'll extract. 130R will be flat out, but I still wouldn't recommend trying it too wide. Drift the car off to the left and then try to get it slowed up for the Casio triangle where you're likely to see some overtakes. Once again, this is going to be a real test of who has the best throttle control. The turbo is so powerful that drivers will be feathering it all the way around the final right-hand bend. The fastest cars out of here will be the ones making the most out of their right foot. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Suzuka.
You could see just the immense power and downforce of these GTP cars as they work their way around here. But they're going to have to control that if they want to have a chance at the Drivers' Championship, because Justin Albrecht has certainly been on a roll. I talked about it, so let's take a look at the points. And Albrecht has 4 wins so far. We're in round 8, so he's won more than half so far. If he wins today, it'll continue to have more than half. But Fabian Gerber, instead of being the one who's ahead, as he usually is in the championship, has been chasing and really has not been quicker than Justin at most tracks. Nick Mukanos is behind him, and you can see that there is more than a win's worth between our first and second place, and in fact, more than a win's worth between second and third. So the top has spread out a lot. It's really the battle for third that it finally closes up between Krejcik and Olenek that is close to Mukanos. And Olenek was looking quick in the warm-up as well, so he could maybe get himself in the mix in this championship. The GTO Championship, you get the exciting one here, Adam. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, definitely. After a win last week, Jamie Hall jumps onto the bottom of the board, just 25 points back of the lead. And he's only a couple of points back from Franco Scurry in 4th, who drops a place to Phil Lake. Even though Phil had his finishing place drop back to 8th place last week, still only 14 points behind the lead. And then Reed Miller and Yoni Hagner, look at this. Only 1 point separating them. This GTO Championship looks like it might go down to the wire, Joe.
And as you saw in our intro, we have a special championship this season. Big thank you both to Frank Biella and to Milk Zoo for sponsoring the Milk Zoo GTO Championship. Franco Scurry leads that right now. This is all amongst the Italians and the GTO cars. Those are the Audis. Remigio De Pasqua still giving chase, but falling back a little bit. Arce Diacono and Roberto De Filippi's fighting hard for that third spot, with Josu Leocada rounding out your top 5 there in that special championship we have this season. What are our race details, though, for today's race in particular here, Adam?
Yeah, definitely. This is round 8 of 12, so we're getting into the last part of this season. This is a 40-minute race, not their 60-minute endurance setups, and there are open setups. You will not see a pit stop from these guys today, nor will you see a free repair or a new car. They don't get those in this series because it's an official series, and there is no incident limit, so they can drive off track as much as they want, as long as they don't really care that much about their safety rating.
Yeah, and, well, it is a C-Class series, so they can lose quite a bit before they're unable to race in here anymore. Now, of course, if you are enjoying watching this on the GSRC, make sure and show your support for our channel. Well, it'll be easy now because you can wear some of our gear that we've got. Our merch store is open. You can go check it out in the link down below. That is at gsrc.storenvy.com. And we've got stickers there. So it's not just stuff that you can wear. You can put this on your car. And if you're worried about it wearing out in the winter, well, don't worry. We've made these stickers able to withstand re-entry on the space shuttle, even from what I understand. So they are very, very hardy stickers. Make sure and check those out. They're actually the cheapest item that you can get on there, so very easy to pick up. We had to get really special permission from NASA to try and get those on the space shuttle to test that out. But it all worked out in the end. They've been very well tested. Now, in qualifying, Justin Albrecht is our provisional pole sitter, so he's got the legs over Fabian Gerber, but it's a very small gap between them. In fact, the qualifying has just finished, so let's go through our starting order here today. Justin Albrecht, as I mentioned, at the top spot, and look at the gap between himself and Fabian Gerber. Incredibly small between them. Ardo Iamaki will be starting in 3rd with Tobias Gerber in P4. Steve Bycroft will be starting in 5th, and then the outside of row 3 has Martin Krejcik in there. He's been having a good season in points. Roman Pawlowski joins us over from the Lotus 49s. He'll be starting in 7th position. Linus Technow will be in P8 with Fabian Jungbluth in 9th spot. Nicholas Mukanos rounds out your top 10 in the GTPs. Laus Olsen back in 11th will be flanked by Pablo Suarez in 12th position. Stefan Schlacker out here once again racing. He'll be starting 13th. Heitor Sintes Guindo starts P14. John Key 15th. And Anthony Obrota in 16th position.
Billy Roll is going to get the pole in the GTOs. Alongside him is going to be Jamie Hall. A good start for him considering his win last week. Philip Lake's going to start in the 3rd position alongside Reed Miller. Hristo Ublev is going to start alongside Reed, in his own row in row 3 with Ove Trangarade alongside him in row 3 with Ben Laughter starting off row 4 alongside Franco Scurry. Daniel Satchel's going to start row 5 alongside Lucio Distillery, and then we have Remigio De Pasqua and Roberto Di Filippi, Christian Scrazia, Antonio Arce Diacono, Michael Haynes, Simo Raba, and Egidio Perna are going to round out your field for the GTOs today.
Pretty full field out here. 33 cars racing today for round 8. You can see they're already gridded up, waiting for this rolling start to happen. They should split up the two as they get going, even though it's not a full pace lap. The Audis will have time to back off of our GTP cars to get going. So we wait for that Porsche pace car to take off. Should be an interesting 40 minutes as traffic could be a little bit tricky in spots here today, Adam.
Yeah, it's also going to be really interesting in the points for the GTOs because Yoni Hagner, our current points leader, is not here. So that gives Reed Miller a really good opportunity for points today. But yes, the traffic is going to be very difficult around here, Joe. It's one of the places where the cars really cross lines a lot over the course of this track, and so it can be really challenging for the GTPs to navigate their way through the GTOs. It's hard for the GTOs to race side by side as well, so it's going to get spicy here.
All right, let's see just how spicy it gets, because right now we've got the pace car coming through the Casio triangle, and that's going to give control to Justin Albrecht. What kind of start can Gerber give and try and challenge him down into turn 1? Well, it's a good jump right away as the green flag comes out for Albrecht, and he accelerates down the front stretch. Ardo Iamaki already challenging Gerber into the first corner as they go side by side. Look at him almost taken all the way down to the pit wall, but he's going to back out. Gerber strong into that first corner. Most of them starting to get single file with that early start, and it is clean for the GTPs. Let's go to the GTOs.
GTOs are pretty clean as well, but they're about to enter turn 1. We're going to see how this goes. Villarola being challenged by Phil Lake around the outside. Phil Lake's going to get that job done. An impressive move for him. A fantastic work around the outside there. That was actually Jamie Hall around the outside. Phil Lake's behind him and being challenged by Reed Miller, who gets held up a little bit by him. So he's got Hristo Ublev as the challenger behind him. They're really starting to really duke it out here through the S's.
That was Miller that Ublev got into there as they're still fighting side by side behind him. That's Trangrate and Laughter trying to sort that out as they come out of the S's and into Dunlop Corner. Ooh, they're not going to want to go side by side here into the Degners because that's a little bit dangerous, especially in lap 1, and Laughter is the one that is braver of the two.
Fascinating to see Ove Trangrade back off there. He definitely had the line and could have forced Laughter to break, but he decides to think better of it, and he knows this is a long-ish race, so he's going to wait a little bit to make that move.
Wow, things are fierce here on the first lap for our GTO class. It's pretty much spread out up in the prototypes. But Jamie Hall is your leader, and Billy Rolla is getting chased, but they've dropped Philip Lake ever since the start. Big gap back to him, and then an even bigger gap back to Reed Miller, who runs in 4th.
Yeah, Reed's doing a good job just to hold his position, but Phil Lake, having dropped quite a bit back from Billy Rolla, but Rolla's right on Jamie Hall's bumper, so Jamie's gonna have to be careful. He's going defensive here up to 130R. Trying to cut off that draft. The draft effect's going to be really effective here in the GTOs down that straight.
Not missing anything in the prototypes. I keep glancing to see if they're going to have any sort of action like this, but really, the fun is down here. Roll isn't successful as they break for the Casio triangle, and Hall looking very good off the corner, accelerating away and pulling a gap over the Finn.
Yeah, he's going to have to break the draft down this straight because the Finn's going to be charging very hard. But this is all giving Phil Lake an opportunity to get back up there to them. He is only 0.7 behind. And so under braking here, we know how good Phil is through that first sector. We saw it on the first lap. Let's see whether or not he can close the gap even further.
I can tell you, let's stay with this because this is better with it being for the lead. But Laust Olsen and Sintes Galindo had some real action. Oh, and I spoke too soon. Sintes Galindo had another off, and I think, was this John Keefe that got into him? This all started with Galindo going off through the first corner. Excuse me, through the start of the S's, rather.
And then he backs up everybody. It looks like he misses a shift or something because he just slows down in the middle of the track.
Let's watch from on board the car. You'll see the front of John Keefe absolutely plow into him and send him off before the Degners. Oof.
He just got snapped loose coming over that curve there, and that just actually sent him off.
I thought that maybe perhaps he was trying to get the time back because he did cut the course. We didn't see it on those shots when he came into the S's. He actually got bumped off by Olsen, and that's what caused him to cut the course. Everybody's still going. Sintez Guindo, the worst off of the four. As we come up to our leader in the prototypes, Justin Albrecht, looking for his 5th victory if he can hold on to this lead. Now Gerber is giving chase. He is within a second of our leader, but he is not within attacking distance.
All right, so we have the battle still raging in the GTOs. Jamie Hall has been able to hold off Villarola, but Rola's got a really good exit this time. He doesn't quite have the pace that Jamie Hall does, but he does have the draft. We'll see whether he can make something of it into turn 1. Turn 1 is extremely difficult here in the GTOs. Rola thought that Jamie was going to dive low, but he wasn't. So we'll see how he does. He looks inside, but he's not going to have room.
Just showing himself in the mirrors, and Jamie Hall's not falling for it. He cuts down to the apex. Phil Lake is loving this fighting. You can see him in the other dirty torque car still giving chase. It's been a 3-car breakaway now. Reed Miller still a distant 4th, about 1.7 seconds back from these 3.
If any of you guys were wondering what was happening in the Milk Zoo Championship, they're currently battling down for 25th overall with Remigio De Pasqua leading this Milk Zoo battle. They're all just bunched up with one another, having their own little fight down here.
This has happened repeatedly, race after race. All of the Italians wind up around one another. And that's Distillery who is giving chase, getting close, coming up. Oh, and he's going to take a look down into the Degners. He's given space. That means that De Pasqua goes off and lets him through, but manages to keep other cars from passing him by.
Yeah, this is getting really interesting here between these Milk Zoo Championship runners. They are line astern here as they go into the hairpin. Whoa, looks like he's giving up too much room on the inside here. He's going to get battled back. Looks like a little bit of dab of the brakes on the outside there from De Pasqua, but Distillery managing to hold on.
Yeah, big wheel spin coming off of the hairpin from both Distillery and De Pasqua. So your order is Distillery in 10th in that class, De Pasqua 11th, Filippi's 12th, RC Diacono 13th, and 14th to Scoracia. This is all for position and all fighting for that same Milk Zoo Championship as they climb the hill.
Everyone's going to have to be careful about draft here. Whoever has the most draft effect will definitely be able to make passes. We see a couple of people offline just to try and break the draft a little bit. It looks like it's working. Everyone's just staying in position here as they go up to these curves.
The Casio triangle and getting on the binders. Nobody really able to make any moves into there. Back onto the front stretch once again. Will we see an opportunity? Who's brave amongst these drivers? Taking a little peek there from De Pasqua, but not brave enough. He's going to get back in the line. Haven't missed anything up at the very front of the field. Rolla just holding on to the back of Hall. It's about 0.3 of a second between them. Hard to tell which of these to watch. We now hop on board the chopper and see them weave their way through the S's.
They're all doing a good job here. This is a very challenging track to drive in the Audi GTO because it's all these sweeping corners at high speed make it very difficult to hold on to the car. And one of the things I didn't talk about in my pre-race, we're going to go up to Mukanos here. We have a battle here between, I believe that's Mukanos and Pawlowski.
That Roman is tight up behind him. But right now, Mukanos has the track position. They're actually not too far behind Technow as well, up in front of them. So this is all essentially for 6th place because Martin Krajcik just a little bit up the road too. Now, we had Heitor Sintez-Guindo pit and get repairs done, but it looks like John Keefe also going to have to get a little bit done to the sheet metal of that prototype as he's come into the pits. Not sure if he's far enough ahead that he'll be able to stay ahead of the GTO cars too. In fact, I think they're coming around now.
Joe, I gotta steal you away because Villarrola has his best run that he's had on Jamie Hall since the beginning of this race. This is for the lead of the GTOs. Jamie is defending for all his life, but he's gonna give that inside up for Villarrola. Rola's gonna dive down the inside and try and outbrake Jamie, but Jamie around the outside with that extra added banking, and the racing line's gonna try and battle it back.
Oh, it's going to be tough because he's already got a nose ahead, but he's to the inside as they start the S's. Neither one is willing to give way. Still going to go wheel to wheel through here, somehow finding the momentum. Jamie Hall fends him off, and Rola's going to have to work harder than that to take another win.
That was his best opportunity he's had yet, and he's still on his rear bumper, but I don't think he's going to have an opportunity unless he could get through the dig as well and take him into the hairpin. But look at this, Jamie Hall losing grip on the outside. Villarrola trying to get to the outside of this next digna, but unable to do so.
The way things are looking right now, we're going to have another repeat winner one way or another because Hall, Rolla, Lake, and Miller, our top four, have all won so far.
But Rolla and Hall have pulled away from Miller by the likes of 1.3 seconds. So either Lake is saving his stuff or he doesn't have the pace to keep up with these guys. But these front two are duking it out right now.
And the other thing we have to remember is they haven't met traffic yet, and that'll throw an absolute wrench in the system. And that could complicate things greatly. Jamie Hall, still your leader here in the GTOs. Roll is going to try and square off the corner, see if he can get another run up the hill. But it looks like Hall is going to be able to fend him off for now as he gets a little bit of a gap.
And I want to take us down for the battle for P8 in GTPs. Angelika Pawlowski just tried to make a pass on Nick Bucanos, and it was due to traffic that allowed them to get past. That was Simo Raba in the GTOs that held him up. But look at this. Pawlowski is still getting caught a little bit by Bucanos, but Bucanos backs off a little bit. That pass just happened through the Degnas.
Brave stuff between them, especially dealing with the lap traffic at the same time.
And we got to go back to the lead of the GTOs, Joe, because Villarrola is trying the outside this time around Jamie Hall.
Well, the inside didn't work, so might as well try the other one. And look at him carry the speed off. He's not only got a nose ahead, but he's got the inside line. This time it worked. Rolla, learning from his mistakes, gets him the lead over Jamie Hall. But can he run away? They're going to have some company. Here comes John Keefe to try and get through. This is not lap traffic. He's trying to get back by for overall position.
This is also not a good place to get passed by a GTP because you need all of the track here. And John Keefe is going to wisely hold off and not pass them through this sector.
He's not battling with anybody right now. He's set way back with that extra pit stop. So he's going to try and pick his way through carefully. He gets one. I don't think he's going to be able to get both here into the hairpin, though.
Yeah, but his lack of speed off the hairpin, he's going to take that outside line and not hold up Jamie Hall. That's a wise move from an experienced John Keefe who's raced against these GTOs and knows where they're strong. He's going to try and not break up the battle, but even just being there, he's broken up the battle by about 0.7 of a second.
Now he is able to leave them be. Oh, and Martin Krejcik just got past as well. Pawlowski is on a tear with this traffic.
He knows how to navigate through this traffic, Joe. I've seen him scything through this traffic very efficiently. He's giving no quarter here, and the traffic is really starting to cause havoc in the GTP class.
That's impressive because I'm pretty sure Pawlowski's a newcomer to this series. You can see just how much chaos this is causing. Krejcik has Tech now right behind him, and Mukanos as well as they go by some of our Milk Zoo competitors. Suarez trying to get through as well as he's being chased by Schlacher. In fact, Schlacher might have a good run behind them. Looks like a defensive line to the inside. Oh, and Schlacher forced way off into the paved runoff. He keeps his foot at it. And Suarez is under attack again because here comes Schlacher to the inside, door to door through the Casio triangle. Oh, and bangs him to the side.
And we have a GTO that just went around there. That was Hermigio de Pasqua going around off the final corner.
Yeah, that was helped by, unfortunately, Technow shoved out of the way. In fact, another contact from Mukanos on top of it as he got going. So we jump up to Suarez in a nice little fight once again.
And he was getting passed by Fabian Lundbluth, and Steven Schlacher is getting really trapped up there by the lap car of Lucio Distillery. Man, this traffic is really, really causing havoc for these GTA.
And Schlacher trying to get himself in position now that he's ahead of Lundbluth. Mukanos up ahead. Remember Mukanos. Oh no, we got a big mess in front of them. I think they're able to get through. Is that
Patrick and Suarez?
And Steve Bycroft. Oh no! In another incident! Mukanos gets tipped off. Schlacher gets in the midst of it. That was Technow who went flying.
This is a big jump.
Multiple incidents in the middle of the GTP field. Mukanos eventually had to tow. Here's the replay. There's the first incident up ahead, and I think that was due to traffic. And then there was 4, you can see right there, GTP cars. Oh, Technow got bumped from behind. That sent him into Mukanos. And then, of course, that was Schlacher who just couldn't stay out of the mess as well. Now, how did this start, though? That was a GTO car, and I couldn't quite tell what started it.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see it to find it either, Joe.
We'll try and figure that out a little bit later, but wow, what a mess. We worried about the traffic, and unfortunately, it seems about 15 minutes into the race, it finally caused a bit of a mess out there. Pawlowski, though, as we mentioned, dealing with this beautifully. Look at him. Just weaving in and out of Ublev and Ben Laughter in their own little fight there for 5th place in the GTOs, and lets them be.
And he's on his way almost to effortlessly catch up to Tobias Gerber and Ardo Iamaki, who are dealing with traffic ahead of him. He's making this traffic look easy, but we just saw how dangerous it can be. So this is really interesting to see this serious newcomer really make way through the field.
Yeah, going rest. He has a little wheel spin there coming out of the hairpin. Taking a look at Iamaki, who runs in 3rd, but he is a distant 3rd, by the way. It is 11 seconds, nearly 12 seconds up to Fabian Gerber.
Oh, no.
And
RC Diacono, oh my goodness, he just got collected. He just spun off of the hairpin and got collected by, I believe that's Remigio De Pasqua.
oh no, our Milk Zoo Championship itself having some issues, and they were well apart. Now, RC Diacono was blinking a bit on my screen before he spun, and it was Suarez that tipped him. Oh, and he was stuck in the absolute middle of the road with no place to go, just as De Pasqua got into him. Let's stay here. There's the tip.
He's in the middle of the road, and he decides to try and he just stays there. It looks like De Pasqua just got a little bit of target fixation there.
Yeah, he was trying to move, but he probably couldn't tell exactly how far over to the side of the road he was. So, I mean, he did the sensible thing, which was just stay put when a car is coming. Oh. Yeah, the Italian just couldn't decide a way around, as it's a blind corner. And that was a very hard hit. As that was happening, we also had Stefan Schlacher with another off in the hairpin. He's fallen down to 10th. Don't need a replay on that. Meanwhile, Bycroft and Technow have gotten going once again. This is a battle for 7th position since they've got it pointed forward, and that's Phil Lake, our 3rd place driver, unfortunately at an uncomfortable spot. And that's going to allow Linus to catch up.
Linus is being very effectively driven, especially considering the fact that he got punted a little bit earlier on. He's doing a great job to make way even with that. He's coming up on Jamie Hall here, and as they try and go by, Jamie goes extremely deep into the hairpin. It looks like Phil Lake and Jamie Hall have used up most of their stuff because they've lost time. Jamie Hall is 3.8 seconds behind Philly Rolla, and Phil Lake is 2 seconds behind Jamie. So that GTO battle at the front, you're not missing anything because it's separated quite a bit.
Yeah, Ruola, ever since he's gotten by, it almost looks like Villy was the one who was held up in this fight. Because like you said, he's put great distance on those behind him. We earlier saw the battle between Laughter and Ublev being close as they were lapped by cars. Well, they've got to let Olsen through, and he's going to get one. But Olsen, what's he going to do coming up? This is going to be tricky. He has to stay behind coming through 130R. That was a good move by his part. Really not worth trying to get involved there.
And we got battles all over the track, Joe. This is Arto Iamaki holding off Tobias Gerber. Gerber has been charging his way up to Iamaki for the last couple of laps, along with Pawlowski, who's gaining faster than Gerber even. So this battle for third is bunching up a lot. Gerber was within a quarter of a second of Arto Iamaki coming into the back end of that lap. It looks like he has a lot of downforce stripped off of that GTB and is running a really clean setup, and that allows him to get a lot of speed on these straights.
This is a very good race for Tobias Gerber, honestly. Though he tends to be a mid-pack driver, him challenging Arto Iamaki says a lot. Arto is an incredibly quick driver, and to be caught by Tobias, to me, says that the 14 certainly is quick today. 20 minutes left to go, so we've got half the race, and Tobias still has to make the pass, as much as I've been heaping praise on him. So the job is not done by any means.
Yeah, Tobias Gerber has to make this pass, and the best place to do it might be right here, but Hristo Ublev just went around off of the nose of Suarez, I believe. So, yeah, he's still trying to recover from it.
He's doing a very long and wide donut there, and now he gets going. This was into the Degners, not a place you want to get hit. Very fast and not much runoff. In fact, there was 2 touches, one from Laughter and one from Suarez. Wow, oh my goodness, Suarez almost lost it in the first part. Eventually, you can see, unfortunately, he's turned around.
And while we've been watching this replay, Tobias Gerber has gone around. He had just got past Arto Iamaki, and he has just lost that position.
Well, there is that commentator's curse. I wondered if I shouldn't say anything. Yeah, he had a great move down into the Casio triangle, and then it was all on his own. The car snapped. You're going to see the second half of it right here. Coming into turn 2, he corrects, and there she goes.
Yeah, that's a common place to see spins. Even in the professional world, we saw one happen in Formula One just a couple weeks ago. And so that's just a really difficult corner, even for the pros.
Absolutely. Well, the closest battle now, because of that, means that it is between Bycroft and Technow for 7th in the prototypes. They actually, is that for position? Yes, Jungbluth in there as well.
Yeah, their battle that they've been having for the last couple laps has actually gotten them up to Fabian Jungbluth, who's only 0.8 ahead of Bycroft. So this is really starting to bunch up a bit here.
They come out of Spoon Curve. Jungbluth, though he has some cushion between himself and the Hoosier, can't really make too many mistakes here, because they could still run him down. Now, Bycroft and Technow were both involved in the incidents we saw earlier. Technow is really good on top end. And that brings me to what I was just about to bring up, which was they could be damaged. And so we don't know where they are weak, potentially, due to that damage.
Well, the funny thing is, Joe, we know that Linus is damaged. We could see it on his back wing, but at the same time, we don't know whether or not Bycroft is damaged, but it definitely looks like Linus has a little bit less downforce on his GTP and has emphasized straight line speed instead for this race.
Come around turns 1 and 2. Not able to gain on Jungbluth. They just lapped the car of Michael Haynes there in the GTOs. As they weave back and forth. I do see a little bit damage on the left front there for Bycroft. And they come down into the Degners as well. Wow, I have to agree. It looks like Technow is cranked up the wing. He continues to close in the braking zones, but can't do anything quite with it.
Well, the Dignas are very specific technical corners, and the more comfortable you are with them, the faster you'll go. I mean, I know that sounds like any other corner on the racetrack, but the Dignas especially, if you're super comfortable with them, you can throw your car in there and really manage to get by and make a ton of time.
Speaking of getting by, we've got to go to Roman Pawlowski. What incredible pace this number 9 has. He just blew by Iamaki on the straight. And that moves him to 3rd. Remember, Pawlowski qualified 7th here. This is some high-end positions that he is going by and on just straight-up pace.
He's very quick, but to give you a perspective as to how fast our leaders in the GTP is, his best lap, Pawlowski's, is a 47.164, whereas Albrecht's fastest lap is a 46.076. So even with Pawlowski's impressive speed, the performance gap from the lead down to 3rd is immense.
I hope we start seeing Roman show up a little bit more. We're used to him over in the Grand Prix Legends series you saw a couple hours ago, but I think he really has found where he is quick, and that is in the high downforce prototypes. He's got 18 seconds to make up on Gerber, and this might be as high as he goes, but it'll be a well-earned podium if he winds up here. Let's jump back now, since they have finished up that battle. Back to Bycroft Tech now, chasing Jungbluth up ahead of them. They've stayed in the same order since we last looked.
I can report you're really not missing anything in the GTOs. There is not a battle in the GTOs right now that is under 2.5 seconds, so the GTO field has been really spread out by the scything traffic of these fast GTPs. Here goes Linus on Bycroft. Bycroft goes wide. Linus gets a better exit, but he's not able to do anything with it.
Tech now going to take a little bit of a peek. Oh, but he's covered off mid-corner. Now he sees an opening. He gets to the inside down in a spoon curve, manages to outbrake him cleanly. And finally, we've got Linus up into 7th position. Poor Steve Bycroft has to settle for 8th.
Yeah, that was a good pass from Linus. Almost lost it trying to come off there from Spoon, off the exit of Spoon. But that gives him a good opportunity to try and run down Fabian at this stage.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he's quicker than Fabian, and also if he's quicker than Bycroft now that he's gotten through. Was he being held up by the Hoosier? Onto the front stretch one more time, and that number 6 now can see the 1.1 second gap up to Jungbluth that he has to try and overcome.
You know, I don't think I was fair enough to Pawlowski when I made that comparison of best laps, because Pawlowski's last lap was a high 47, whereas Justin Albrecht and Fabian Gerber's last laps were low 48s. So he definitely has better race pace on them at this stage in the game, but I don't think it's going to be enough. With 18 seconds up to Fabian Gerber, it's going to be a challenge for him to get there.
It's worth mentioning that Albrecht and Gerber are going through traffic right now. Oh, and Albrecht actually having horrible traffic. He had an awkward moment with Perna and just went by Trangrade as well. This was going through Spoon Curve. We got the replay here.
And while we're watching this replay, if we can keep it rolling and go to Linus Tech now after this, he had a spin coming through the Degnas as well. Wow, look at that. Albrecht just getting seriously held up there. I'm not sure what was going on with that GTO. Did he just lock up the tires a little bit?
I'm not sure either. I didn't quite see, but we're watching the replay of Tech now, who lost it on his own. And that's going to give the spot right back to Steve Bycroft. Tech now back to 8th, Bycroft to 7th.
We actually have a battle brewing for P9 in the GTPs as well. This is between Laust Olsen, Stefan Schlacker, and Pablo Lumbrera Suarez. They're starting to close in on one another here as they try and make this work here. I think that Laust Olsen has been a little bit slower than the two of them, but Suarez seems to be the one who's charging the hardest right now.
And if I remember correctly, wasn't it Suarez that shoved Schlacker off the road through here, 130R? So they've got history. Yeah.
Yeah, Schlacker's not going to want to let him by. He's going to try and put out his elbows a little bit and make sure that Suarez isn't able to get by, because when you get shoved off in 130R, that's a petrifying moment as a race car driver. It's something you do not want to repeat.
And coming up the front stretch, Suarez is looking pretty fast in the straight line. So I don't know if Schlacher is sweating in German right now, but he certainly has some pressure coming up from behind. Ooh, and look, wow, he closed in through 1 and 2 as well. So the 17 is looking very quick.
Well, you have to remember, Schlacher has some damage from that incident that happened in the hairpin where he got hit on the right front. So he might have some aerodynamic damage that's causing him to lose speed. But he is catching on to the back of Olsen as well, so this might be a three-way battle for 9th place at this stage.
All closing in together, which just makes things all the more hard to figure out in the moment. They come up to the hairpin now. Nobody close enough to try and make a move, but once again, heavy on the brakes. Suarez gaining that time, and it's now down to 0.4 of a second.
I don't know how Steve's going to be able to hold them off here, especially down the next straight into 130R. Suarez just has a lot more top-end speed. Ooh, Suarez clipping the grass a little bit with his brakes. Gets a little unstable, but has managed to hold on to it. He doesn't get that good of a run through the corner, and that allows Schlacher to get away with a little bit more.
And this might be exactly what Schlacher needs, because if he can focus ahead and get by Olsen, that'll certainly give him some breathing space, because then of course, Suarez will have to overtake that car as well if he wants to attack Schlacher. Stefan's going to take a look, but he's not close enough, just getting into the mirrors of Laust Olsen down to the Casio triangle. That compromises his exit, though. He starts to lose time.
That might have been a little bit of a defensive move, maybe thinking that Suarez might try to outbrake him into the Casio triangle, but Schlacher weaving a little bit to try and get some temperature into those tires. It is a little cool out there today, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's late in the day as well. We haven't mentioned that. The sun going down, although it's only 4:30 p.m. virtual standard time. But with it being into November here, of course, in the winter, very, very short days here in Japan as they come up on traffic. Could this be what Stefan needs? Still not an opportunity presenting itself as they all get around Sgracia.
Yeah, that was really close for Laust Olsen. He almost got into the back of Sgracia. But that gives Stefan Schlacher a good opportunity here to try and make time. He's going to try and get something done here through the hairpin. He's got a good exit, but just a little bit loose on exit. He can't close up close enough to him to make a move. He's going to look anyway.
Good news for Steph is Suarez dropped off a little bit. He struggled through that first half of the lap. Schlacher still not getting the chances that he needs. Comes up to spoon curve now. A little bit too far back. The corner exit is what he's going to want. Nice and tidy through the first apex. Nice and tidy through the second apex. And that was a very good one for the Austrian. Also, they come up on lap traffic. De Filippi's in front of them. Oh, and he's slowing. Schlacher's slowing. What is going on there?
Did he get an off course, or is he just worried about 130R?
Oh, he's setting it up. Look at that. Look at that. What in the world? I have never seen a move like that in my life.
Go slow to go fast. Unbelievable.
He backed it off, seeing the traffic, and knew that Olsen was going to get caught up and just blew by him on the exit. That was incredible thinking. I've never seen something like that.
We're going to take a look at this. He actually backs off on this straight, knowing that Olsen was going to get held up to 130R, takes the corner perfectly, and just smokes him. Unbelievable thinking from Stefan Schlacher.
That needs to be submitted for a top 10 for the month on iRacing. That's incredible. So that gives Stefan Schlacher 9th place with that move, and also gets him clear of Suarez, who still has to overtake Olsen. Let's jump over the GTOs, give them some love, because we got a little bit of a battle brewing for third, the final step on the podium between Lake and Miller.
Yeah, this is not good news for Phil Lake. He's actually losing time to Reed Miller. Reed Miller up there for the top 2 in the championship. He's going to want to get this position for sure by the end of the race, but looks like these GTOs really struggling with tires this late in the race. We only have under 8 minutes to go. This race has flown by. But look at this, Reed Miller closing to the back of Phil Lake.
We're going to have Gerber coming through. He'll interrupt the battle a little bit. Phil Lake, oh, he might be caught in a really awkward place down into turn one. It takes the first apex away. He's able to stay ahead of Miller, but Miller gains a bunch of time into the corner.
Both of these drivers are completely loose coming off of the corners and going into the corners. Look at this Phil Lake basically drifting it through the S's right now. These drivers have used all of their stuff. They're just trying to survive at this stage. But Reed Miller trying to make his way to get one more championship point.
And as we've seen in the championship, it is oh so tight between a bunch of these drivers. So it really will matter on whether or not they swap positions, because we're on round 8. After this, it's starting to get into the tail end of the field, or into the season rather.
And Reed Miller, really, this is his best chance to gain points. We don't have Joni Hagner here today, so him getting this point is actually a big deal for him.
Absolutely. They do have drop weeks involved, but you can't expect those to save you as they get overtaken now by Fabian Jungbluth, literally slaloming between them. Thankfully gets by on the straights, and now is able to leave them alone to sort it out themselves. A little wide for Phil Lake coming off a spoon curve.
And if you were wondering what's happened to our leader in the GTOs, well, I'm not going to talk about it now because Reed Miller's trying to make a move on Phil Lake through 130R, unsuccessful. That was dangerous, and oh my gosh, here comes, wow, that was Bycroft smashing through.
He's able to get by cleanly. Miller not able to take advantage, even though he gained on Lake. Back onto the front stretch. Phil, very strong, getting the power down, getting himself clear. And he goes all the way down to the pit wall and then weaves back to the racing line, trying to break that draft for Miller.
All right, as I was going to say, the leader in the GTOs, Willy Rolla, out to an 8-second lead. Justin Albrecht, the leader in the GTPs, he's only got a 4-second lead over Gerber, who's been managing his pace against Albrecht. But I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to catch him. So that's your leader update for this race so far.
And I think you mentioned it, that Rolla, with a good finish, could really get into this championship as well. I think he'll take a second victory if I'm remembering the stats correct. Oh, wow. Yeah, I just saw what you saw. Galindo, unfortunately, interrupting Miller in a bad place.
Here comes Linus Tech now trying to make it by as well. He's trying to catch up to, well, no, Guindo's a lap car. He's trying to catch up to Bycroft 8 seconds ahead. He's going to wait patiently and let Reed Miller get through the corner, but is he going to dive low here on Phil Lake? Phil covers it up. Oh, and Laust Olsen has gone around.
This happened through Dunlop. Well, this is an unusual place. Looks like just the rear gets loose on him as he gets on the throttle.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think everyone's using up their tires quite a bit in this race, and they get super hot and super worn. You start to lose traction even under the downforce. Now, Dunlop is an extremely bumpy sector of this Suzuka circuit, so it could be that he just lost that ground effect and got pulled around.
Down in 8th, Ublev, who's had some action so far, has got a little bit more coming his way. Distillery looking to take the second position in the Milk Zoo fight here today. That's led by Franco Scurry, by the way, who is well ahead of him, unfortunately. About 15 seconds separating them. That is our leader, Albrecht, squeezing through just as Ublev wants the apex. Unfortunately, not going to get it this time around.
Oh man, Distillery trying to chase down Ublev. He's extremely loose coming off the corners. Everyone's tires are totally spent here. We're closing in on the final laps here, and it's going to be really difficult for these guys to try and hang on to these cars.
I do believe we're getting 2 to go this time by from Albrecht. Coming up to the line now. Heading back to the battle for 3rd in the GTOs. Phil Lake coming out of the S's. And they're coming up on lap traffic in their own class. Simo Raba is up ahead of them. That's going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with.
Phil Lake got extremely loose out of Digna 1, and now Reed Miller getting extremely loose out of Digna 2. These guys are really rigging it out right now. Reed Miller's going to go to the outside. Phil Lake's going to try and cover him off. But is Reed going to try and do the over-under here? He's going to try. He's not going to get it done, but Phil does not get a good exit here.
Oh, that was a pretty good exit from Reed Miller. Oh, but he has to lift a little bit as now they come up towards Spoon Curve. It gets very fast up through here. These cars, as you mentioned, looking like they are struggling on grip. Behind them, that's Schlacher, trying not to get involved in this battle, and he's going to get a nice little gap here up the long straight towards 130R.
And that's going to keep Phil Lake from breaking the draft to Miller, so Miller might be able to go to the inside here on 130R. He's going to think better of it and decides not to, but he really had a good opportunity there. He could have taken the sides better of it, but he's coming down to possibly, this is going to be his second to last lap. He's going to have to make something work here.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit boxed in with Schlacher there to the inside once they got up to speed. We have to remember these Audis are fast at top end, even though the Nissans can get up to their top end a little bit quicker. So Phil Lake, you can see, pulling a little bit of a gap to Reed Miller as they come by.
And Justin Albrecht's about to come through the Casio Triangle and take the white flag here. He has really been commanding in this lead ever since the start of the race. He has now pulled almost a 7-second gap on Fabian Gerber. Fabian looks like he's given up that fight for the top.
Tired of playing second fiddle to Fabian, who's won the championship multiple times here in the Camel Series. Justin Albrecht has just been destroying everybody this season. It'll be his 5th win if he brings it home this lap. Through the S's, giving him a little bit of screen time now that we have an opportunity to do so. Now, keeping an eye on the other battles, don't worry. We now wide on board looking through the very calm windshield of Justin Albrecht.
And Justin doing an excellent job here. He's coming up on some lap traffic. He's been doing this all race though, so I don't think, unless they get into one another here, that he's going to be very concerned with this. He's just keeping it calm. He's got a 7-second gap he can play with, so he doesn't have to do anything risky here to make it by.
Yep, the Buckeye isn't necessarily saying Ohio today. He's saying sayonara to the rest of the field. With that big gap that he has behind.
And Billy Rolla now coming, he's going to come across and take the white flag as well, so our 2 leaders on their final laps now.
And that's going to give one more lap to the battle to Lake and Miller. Actually, that's getting close right now because Miller's going to have a go around the outside into Casio. He's fended off with the defensive line from Phil Lake and onto the front stretch. They now see the white flag up ahead of them. In fact, they are just ahead of Justin Albrecht. They barely snuck through to get this one more opportunity. Justin Albrecht coming to the line, taking the victory here today at Suzuka.
And Reed Miller has gone around the outside of Phil Lake through 1. He's trying to make this pass work. We've seen this work in the Audis multiple times. Phil Lake drifting it out to Reed Miller and is trying to hold off that position. He's going to manage to do.
Oh, tries to come back at him, but there's a car right at the apex. Phil Lake, incredible defense. He is not giving this one up. Reed Miller desperately wanting those extra points to try and put himself ahead of Hagler in the championship. And again, this is only for 3rd place. Hall is up ahead of them in 2nd. Rolla is way up the road. Olsen going to interrupt them briefly. Oh, that was tight.
Reed Miller doing a great job trying to hold on to the back of Phil Lake. Phil Lake doing a great job trying to hold on to his car at all. His car is real trouble right now. And this is bringing up Ben Laughter only 2 seconds back. I know that may seem like a lot of time, but if these 2 guys have no tires and Ben has some tires, he might be able to catch them by the end of the race. But it doesn't look like it. Reed Miller, he's going to have one last opportunity, and that's going to be into the Casio Triangle.
Which is where our leader is heading to right now, because Billy Rolla swings it through 130R down to that last chicane. The number 3 is going to take another victory here this season. Billy Rolla showing his pace here in Japan with a win for round 8.
Reed's got a good run on Phil Lake, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He really packs it at a 130R, but this is not going to be enough for him. That's Jamie Hall, second place coming across, and Reed Miller takes one more look at Phil Lake. He's going to go to the inside. It's not going to work. He's going to have to give up some time here. Otherwise, he's going to get a penalty like Phil Lake did at the end of that race. Phil Lake drifting it across almost to taunt Reed Miller. What a battle between those two. And he gets passed by Ben Laughter. Unbelievable.
He had a slowdown penalty at the end. He had to serve it or else he would be penalized at the line. Let's take a look at the replay. Just outbraked himself. Ben Laughter showing why you have to push all the way to the end. And those are our last cars to come across the line, I believe.
Reed's going to be kicking himself. He's going to be kicking himself because that's a championship point that he just lost to Yoni Hagner trying to make a late move on Phil Lake.
And that's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Suzuka International Racing Circuit, and we had a stunner here today for round 8 in the Kamel GT series. Maybe not necessarily for the leads as much, but the rest of the field gave us lots of action. Justin Albrecht with a 7-second gap back to second place with his 5th victory of the season. Fabian Gerber continues to lose ground on him. He finishes second today. And then Roman Pavlowski impressed us today, going from 7th to 3rd, showing incredible pace and also prowess, weaving his way among the traffic. Faster than Ardo Iamaki, who has to settle for 4th, and Tobias Gerber, who could have maybe himself had a 3rd place, but a mistake sent him backwards. He wound up 5th position. Fabian Ugluth was P6 with Steve Bycroft getting into a few problems out there. He winds up 7th. Linus Technow was involved in one of those. He was 8th place, and Stefan Schlacker was as well, but he went from 13th to 9th today. A good climb forward. Pablo Suarez rounds out your top 10. Klaus Olsen was the last one on the lead lap in the GTPs. He was 11th. Anthony Obrota was 12th and John Keefe 13th. Heitor Sintez Kayindo was the last finisher in the prototypes, and 14th. Krejcik and Mukanos were DNFs today. Adam?
Billy Rolla, after making that pass on Jamie Hall all around the outside of one, snaked away with the win. He gets that finish for himself. Jamie Hall, a good finish for him after last week finishing off second place. Then we have Phil Lake, a far third place, just beating out the charging Ben Laughter in fourth. And Reed Miller, losing that position to Ben Laughter because of the slowdown, comes home in fifth. Ove Trangerade is going to come home sixth, with Franco Scurry seventh. Hristo Ublev holds off Lucas Distillery for 8th, and Lucas comes in 9th. Roberto Di Filippi comes in 10th. Christian Sgracia 11th. Simo Raba 12th. Michael Haynes 13th. Egido Perna comes home in 14th. Antonio Arcidiacono comes home 15th, with Daniel Sadro and Remigio De Pasco rounding out your GTO field.
We have our second place finisher in the GTPs ready to talk to us, Fabian Gerber, of course, and only a 7-second gap back today, but still looking like it was tough to try and keep up with Albrecht's pace. Fabian, from your perspective, do you think it was raw pace out there, or was it traffic that kept you behind number 4 today?
I think we had about the same speed. Every time we had no traffic, the distance stayed the same, and I lost almost 5 seconds with the same person that took me out last week. So it could have been closer, but overtaking would have been a different story. So it's okay to end in second.
At least you got as many points as possible, but it was cool conditions and a setting sun out there today. Was it actually pretty good with the car on the track, or did the coolness actually make it difficult in places?
No, it was really nice to drive. I felt great with the car. I had one mistake, unfortunately, which cost me another 2 seconds, but otherwise it was great to drive. Really nice.
Speaking of the traffic, next week it's going to be a very short lap over at Road Atlanta, and there's portions that are known for being tricky to try and get by any of the Audi GTOs. So what are you thinking coming forward into that one, knowing those difficulties lay ahead?
Yeah, it's one part isn't tricky, it's impossible actually to overtake, so it's gonna be tough, especially like also today when Justin overtook someone on the straight and I had the same Audi in front of me in turn 1 and 2. That's really frustrating, and that's really hard to stay disciplined and stay cool and keep behind. And okay, I lose time. What can I do about it? I just try harder. Next lap, whatever. It's gonna be hard, but it's part of it.
Yeah, it's a pragmatic view of things, I feel like. Fabian, congratulations on second today, and hopefully we get to see you down in Georgia.
Thank you very much. We will, yes.
Fabian Gerber, P2. And the prototypes, we also have P3 in the GTOs ready to talk to Adam.
Yeah, definitely. Phil, what a battle you had with Reed Miller in those closing laps. How much did you have left on those tires at the end of that race?
Not a lot, to be honest. Yeah, I picked up a bit of damage about midway through the race, and I was down on top speed. And I knew Reed would be able to catch me because he was fast in yesterday's race. So I was trying to get through basically the middle sector of the lap as fast as possible every lap, and then just try and stay in front of him on the straights. And yeah, it was a good, fun battle. And he gave me space where he needed to, and I tried to give him space as much as I could. So it was a good battle. It was a shame to see him. I think he picked up a slowdown in the last corner on the last lap.
Yeah, I know you're familiar with those, especially after last week. But yeah, that final lap going into turn 1, when he came around the outside, we saw that was how Villarroel got around Jamie Hall. How did you manage to hold him off there? We know that that's the preferred line for the Audis around the outside there to pass.
Yeah, basically just let the brake off. I saw him going around the outside, and when we got to sort of turn 2, or the proper apex of that corner, I guess, I just let the brake off and just enough to get up his inside again, so he couldn't take the apex there. And I think if he'd managed to be just a little further ahead and take that apex, it would have been game over for me. So I just tried to keep the car on the inside, and then get on the throttle sooner. And then going into the S's, I really that was kind of a bit of a risk because I just pushed around his outside there and just tried to hold on to the car. I could have easily ended up in the grass there, and so I was trying to stay in front of him for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Phil, thanks for a fantastic battle on track, and congrats on another podium. And I'm glad that this result is going to stand compared to last week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Phil Lake, third place in the GTOs, and we're going to talk to Stefan Schlacker, who made one of the most exciting passes of the day with Joe.
Absolutely, and that got him ninth place. Stefan, I know we had a little bit of a discussion, but do you want to come clean on the air about the reality of that move?
Sure, why not? Since probably all of the people who watch GSRC know that we use Discord to communicate here on the broadcast. And I was sneaking into that and, just to stay a little bit up to date, and if my race gets boring, listen a bit into the broadcast. I got kicked into the AFK channel because I didn't talk for the past 30 minutes. So I wanted to get back into our little chat again and all tapped out of iRacing into Discord, and Discord popped up right on my main screen, nearly to full extent, and I didn't see where I was going, so I left it to clear Discord away again, get into the channel, and then that pass happened somehow. I don't even know what.
So maybe not as pre-planned as it looked like from the outside, but it made for an incredibly fun moment. You had a lot of action out there throughout the race, not just that, but you were involved in that mess that happened down in the hairpin. What happened from your perspective?
I don't know who that yellow GTP was there on the outside. Then out of Degner 2, then they were 3 wide. I was just trying to go with the fastest car. That's what Linus was. And then I stayed a little bit behind the 2 of them once they cleared the yellow GTP. And Linus looked like he's gonna go for the inside at the hairpin, but he then backed out, and I was so committed to the line right behind him to also get past, I think it was Fabian. No, sorry, that was Mechanos. That I had no time of avoiding him. I did all I could to slam my brakes and try to avoid him, but yeah, Netcode did the rest, spun him around right into Mechanos, and then Mechanos, understandably a little bit disappointed about that wreck, kept his foot in and hit myself on the rear right, upsetting my brake balance by quite a bit, so I then had to find my own brake balance again. That also was rather interesting with 3 spins on the brakes.
And even with all of this, you still managed to climb to ninth. I mean, knowing all that, are you satisfied with today?
Most definitely, because I didn't think I will survive this race, and I came out gaining a little bit of RH. That's all what it's about, so I'm super happy. It's a top 10 after all.
All right, well, I'm glad you're satisfied with that. That was ninth place finisher Stefan Schlacker with clearly a lot of stories to tell about today. Another driver with some stories is Ben Laughter, and Adam is going to be talking to him.
Yeah, Ben, let's start off with those final laps. You closing in on the battle between Reed Miller and Phil Lake. Did you really think that you were going to be able to get Reed Miller or Phil Lake by the end of that race?
One of them had to make a mistake for me to get back into it. I was glad to see them get together because they'll slow each other down in the S's. I had pretty equal pace with both of them, but I needed them to get fighting with each other for me to make any inroads. And I got really lucky at the end. I was half sad, half thrilled to see that slowdown at the end.
Yeah, definitely, Ben. And also, you had a moment earlier on lap 10. You had a great battle going with Hristo Ublev, but then with that slow GTP in front of you, what happened going into the Degnas?
Well, it's one of those things you can sort of see it brewing. You see the guy coming, you sort of get a feeling, you're sort of conflicted, and going into that second, that right-hander, I let off and thought, there's going to be smoke here. There's going to be a problem, and intuition ended up being right. You spend enough time in Kamel, you spend enough time in these cars, and you can start to feel those things sometimes before they happen.
Well, Ben, it was a good race for you. What are you thinking going into next week at Road Atlanta? Is that a track you are comfortable with in the GTO?
I am actually super excited. So I just moved to Atlanta. So I went to Petit Le Mans a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been in iRacing on track since going to the real track, and I am really excited. It's a great track for this series. It's a lot of fun. It's a great track in general, and I'm excited for next week.
Well, fantastic talking to you, Ben. Is there anyone you want to thank today?
I want to thank Reed Miller for slowing down, coming out of the final corner and the last lap so that I could pass him for fourth.
All right. Well, there we
Salt in the
go.
wound, Reed. Come on, Reed. Come at me.
All right. Well, that was Ben Laughter coming home in the fourth position in the GTOs. That was a fantastic interview with him. All right, Joe, back to you.
I love when they get into it. So let's close up for today with a big thank you to the Kamel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store. It's at gsrc.storeenvy.com. The link is in the description below. Make sure and subscribe if you also want to support us. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe here on YouTube, and you won't miss a moment on the GSRC. Next race, as we mentioned, is Road Atlanta. That'll be Saturday, November 9th. And again, we have a time change coming up. That'll be at noon Eastern next week. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.